Hold on, is this working? Okay. It's working. Hello everyone and welcome to Overwatch Talks, where we three just talk about like shit about Overwatch. What is this? Oh, I got a message from like Nat.
Oh my god.
X is
Yeah,
out.
that's in there.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're actually doing this. So the first thing we want to talk about is characters and their viability. So now you can join. She can hop in. Yeah, this is open. This is totally open forum. Q will fill you in. Okay, so what I really want to talk about right now is basically there's an issue in Overwatch right now, especially in competitive, where a lot of people are concerned about what characters are viable and what aren't, and I see a lot of people picking the wrong characters for the wrong situations. And it's not that any characters necessarily are should never be picked ever, but it's just that they're viable under very narrow circumstances. Like, there are times when even I will pick Hanzo, and people will give me hell for it, but the thing is if they're not taking out a Bastion, and my Genji's not being able to pull it off, and my Widow's not able to pull it off, and Sombra can't do it, then I will... Maybe what's best is that I pick Hanzo, find a good corner at a distance, pop out, put 3 arrows in him, and he's done. And I'm confident enough that after I've taken out that Bastion, I can still possibly hold my own on the battlefield until my next spawn as Hanzo and get value out of him. Whereas, maybe not everyone can do that, but he is viable. And that goes to show that even Hanzo can be viable in a lot of competitive play. So, would you agree with that?
Um, Depends.
On what
I've never
circumstance?
been, I've never been a fan of Hanzo only because of his mobility is really limited. He can't get away from fights very easily. And say, right now I'm playing a soldier. If I see a Hanzo up close, I'm gonna win that fight. Like there's unless he gets one, really quick shot in my head, there's no other way he's gonna win it. And he doesn't really have any good matchups besides Bastion and like Torbjorn turrets. You know what I mean?
Well, that's where it goes back to what I had said, where it's like every character is viable, but it just depends on what alley you're playing down. So, on the specific circumstance that the enemy team has a Bastion that's causing you grief, and there's no one else able to handle it, you could pick Hanzo on the occasion just to take out the Bastion, and then once you die, switch back to someone else. But I would never suggest that you, at the start of the game, before anything happens, pick Hanzo and intend to play him the entire game.
Yeah, I get that.
I think the only time I would actually accept a Hanzo throughout the entire game if he has been taking, I wouldn't say most of the kills, but a lot of the kills compared to the rest of the team, I guess you can say, maybe like second or third. But if you're basically doing nothing as a Hanzo, then don't be the Hanzo. Look at what the rest of the team needs and then switch off as needed.
Yeah.
Now on the...
I mean, that's... Oh,
What?
sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
At the same time, the things that Hanzo can do and the roles that he can fill, other heroes can fill that role better than he can. Like Genji, or like Soldier, or like... And Pharah, actually.
Exactly.
If it comes down to taking out a Bastion, Pharah can do that fairly easily.
So, yeah, he took the words right out of my mouth. So, like, let's say we do have a good Hanzo on the team, and he's doing his job, and we're winning the battle. I'm not going to complain and tell him to switch, but he should be talking to himself saying, you know what? I got 40 kills this game as Hanzo, but you know what? I bet I could get 60 with Soldier. And I think that's the mentality that a lot of people lack, is like, hey, I'm good enough. Hey, I'm good with this character. But imagine how much better you could be if you gave yourself a character with a more viable kit of abilities.
Also, I just got a quad as Soldier, but I mean, I just want to put that out.
Nick's actually playing in competitive. Are you solo queuing?
Yeah.
Smart man.
I'm fine with
You're a brave man. I do it all the time. Oh my gosh. But so there's characters like that are frowned upon in the community, but there's a lot of characters that are kind of in the gray, if you know what I mean. So characters like Sombra, characters like Mercy and Lucio, Zarya, Junkrat especially. And I think going down the line with offense, I think we want to start with Sombra because she's probably the most gray area hero we have in the game right now. And the rundown of what I think of the situation is her damage isn't bad. She can do damage, but the thing is her ability kit is where I have the problem. And so she can't hack through damage, and with her being an offense hero, her hack has a limited distance that she can use it. There's a range on it. So you've got to be decently close. And when you're that decently close to a target, if you're caught, you can't hack. Like, if they're trying to fight back, it's going to be really hard to hack them. You've got to catch them by surprise, and that's where you can say her invisibility kit comes in. But the thing is there's been a question on whether her hack is even good, because you can't just hack anyone and get value out of it. I think the most valuable hero to get a hack on is probably Diva, because the most valuable thing in her kit right now is her defense matrix. And that gives me grief all the time as a DPS.
Hey, I'll be right back.
Sure. And if you take that defense matrix away from her, then her value stoops so low. But other than that, I mean, if you hack a soldier, that doesn't take away his damage. Sure, he can't really run around with a sprint anymore, but you can still dish out a lot of kills with it and still provide a lot of value. And so it's like, what do you think?
I think, in my opinion, with Sombra, she's, of course, one of the newest characters that we have in the game. So when she first came out, a lot of people were wanting to play her just to get the hang of her. But as I've been seeing lately, a lot of people don't even touch her anymore, other than, just for fun, because Sombra and her abilities are pretty cool, but they really clash with each other. Because even though she has her stealth, like you said, her hacking is very up close and front, and it gets interrupted if someone's attacking you. The thing with her hack and her stealth is if you're in stealth, you're going to have to get out of it and then go to click your hack and have that charge up to where the character gets hacked. And in that split moment, you can either possibly die or get your health extremely low.
Yeah. I think actually bottom line on the hacking, what my philosophy is I think hacking actually is a waste of time. Like, that time you spent hacking is time you could have spent dishing damage. And so instead of trying to cut off the balls on Soldier, you could have spent that time killing him, Because hacking takes, 5 seconds? How much damage could you do in 5 seconds with headshots?
Or even that, just her spray.
By the time they realize that you're shooting at them, you've already done a bunch of damage, whereas when you're hacking them, they could just shoot back,
Yeah, they could get the first punch on you, and I think that's a big weakness. And I don't think if you pull off the hack, you're getting enough value out of it to make up for that. So that's a huge part of her kit that I've kind of dismissed already as invaluable. Health packs can be valuable, kind of, but the enemy team usually has a healer, so it's not a big problem. And then as far as invisibility goes, it's useful for getting in the back, but then it's the issue of once you're in the back, what happens? That's my problem. Because so what happens is Sombra's job is to get in the back and infiltrate and hit the healers or the DPS, one of the two, and take them out quickly, take one out, and then jump out. And so what I think the problem is the difference between her and Tracer here really shows, because Tracer dumps her bullets in a second. Tracer's considered burst damage, where she sprays it and it's gone. Whereas Sombra has a 60 clip round. And so it takes her a while to get that damage out over time, as opposed to Tracer. And so you have to really aim headshots and take the healer out quickly. Because what's going to happen is if you're playing in a 6-stack with a team and you go for their healer, the moment that healer takes 1 damage, they're screaming help.
Yeah.
So
The
Lexi's
moment I take damage, I'm like, fuck,
because
help
what do you do,
me.
Lexi, when you're snuck up on by a Genji or a Sombra? You scream help and you fly to your tank, right?
Yeah, I fly. It's either to my tank or to someone that's extremely either in the air, like Farah, to where the Genji has to use their splash and basically becomes useless if they can't get me, or to somebody like, for example, Zarya, who will shield me with her like bubble.
And how long do you think it takes to do all this? How many seconds?
Dude, not, I wouldn't even say. I probably like the same, like 5 seconds, like just to go in, assess my situation. I'm getting shot, turn around, find someone that's far, and just kind of zoom past. And Mercy's Guardian Angel ability is pretty good with having to get away
And
in
I
those
think
kind of
you honestly hit
situations.
that shift button in like 2 seconds. Like you're so fast. And once you scream, help your healer, a good team will turn and send at least 1 or 2 DPS to help you immediately. And so that Sombra has got to take you out quick. And it's hard to do that when the Mercy can fly around from target to target with their shift. It's so hard because Sombra has to be in close range to deal that damage. So, so before you know it, the Sombra's gotten back there and the DPS is on her ass and she's got to get out. Thankfully, she has a beacon. If you can skillfully use it and place it, you can get out of that situation. But at the end of that battle, when you've retreated, you've done nothing. You've done absolutely nothing. Even if you damage the Mercy, she has auto regen. It's all completely useless. And so
Oh
I
no.
think that's where Sombra
Oh god.
falls.
And like even with Sombra, if you do get in there and you do something, what I've seen, at least with most of the Sombras we've played against or we've had on our team, they forget they even have her like transporter. They just kind of go in, dish out all the bullets,
Holy
and then like try to cloak away. And I'm like, you have your transporter, you know you can use that and just kind of zip out of there. A lot of people seem to forget that she even has that.
And then, speaking of the translocator, I think that leads another difference between her and Tracer, where Tracer comes out dominant, where Tracer can immediately zip, zip, zip to the back, and then
One
zip,
by the
zip,
way.
zip away. So she has 3 teleports, and they recharge very quickly, whereas Sombra only has 1. And it's not even an instant teleport. She has to wait for the translocator to travel before she can get there. And so you have to place it in advance. And I think that's a weakness in her case, because having only 1 teleport accessible to you as opposed to 3 is awful. And then
Well,
Tracer can recall damage
yeah.
in an instant. And Sombra has no health regen. She depends on a healer, and it's hard to get those heals when you're in the enemy backline.
Yeah, and even with Sombra too, she, to compare to Tracer, she is very low because with Tracer, her zipping actually recharges faster than Sombra's translocator. And even then, with Sombra's translocator, let's say you put it, I don't know, like let's say you throw it into enemy lines and that's your only way out. They're probably already know where it is and they're just waiting for you to come back. While with Tracer, if you use recall, you kind of forget, at least in my opinion, where she was literally 5 seconds ago. Like you won't know because you're basically trying to remember where she is at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we've only been talking about Mercy up to this point when matching up with Sombra. Um, but let's take into account Lucio and Zenyatta and Ana. So Ana is probably an easier target for Sombra to get to. Sombra is very small of a hitbox, and she can get the drop on you easy. And so Ana's main form of defense is her Biotic Nade, which deals 100 damage, and her Sleep Dart, which is hard to hit on the Sombra's tiny little body. So I think in that respect, Sombra could be used. But then again, at the same time, I think Tracer's still a better pick given her kit. And now imagine especially Lucio. His hitbox is like so small and he's so fast and he's constantly jumping around. You're never gonna take him out quickly with Sombra. Not even like proper DPSs like Reaper always have an easy time taking out Lucios. And for Zenyatta, Zenyatta could easily frag you out so hard. He has so much damage, and he has the Discord orb, that he may not be able to escape you like a Mercy can, but he could definitely go to toe with you.
Yeah. And I think with the 4 healers, if anything, if you're trying to at least kill one of them, I think Anna might be the best. But seeing as how one Lucio, it's hard to get because being also under Mercy main, I'm also a Lucio main. So I know for a fact it's hard to even hit me if you play your speed and your healing boost correctly when you're trying to get everyone else back onto the payload or, onto the points. Well, with Anna, I think I've had more trouble with actually being able to hold myself out than I have with Zenyatta, since they're the ones that I play the least.
Mm-hmm. Very different types of... You play the elusive healers, not the self-defense healers. Oh, people are going to think I have bombs going off. It's New Year's. Happy New Year's, everyone. Happy end of 2016.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, man. But I think Sombra, if you're good with her, I think you could definitely learn how to use her kit in an efficient way. And say you could be good with her, and you could clean up the mess. You could clean up the mess of the DPS. You could take out the healers. But I just think you could always do a better job with someone else. Everything she can do, Genji, Soldier, and Tracer can do better.
Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of times as a Mercy I've died to a Tracer, especially a Tracer that's really good at being so annoying.
And even I think we can also look to the pros on this, because I don't think you or Nick really tune into like where the pros stand on things. But to my knowledge, Jesus Christ, Sombra's been picked only between 1 and 5 times. It's somewhere between there. It's a handful. Last I checked, that she had only been played once, but that was a while back. So she might have been played again a couple of times. But point is, she's not being played by the pros. And even when she was played by the pros, it was done in a very unorthodox manner, where they weren't necessarily stealthing or trying to take out healers or any of that. What their primary goal was to build ult charge, because while her kit is kind of bad, she has debatably the best ultimate ability in the game, and that's canceling out everyone else's kits. So if you can cut the balls off of 5 other players on the enemy team, or even 6, and your entire team can use their abilities, like, that's such a huge advantage. And especially in an ult fight where if your Pharah goes in and drops her Justice on them, and their Lucio pops the sound barrier, you can cancel that sound barrier and make sure that the Pharah's ult got value. So it's undebatably a good ult, but that's all that's good about her. So when the pros played her, that's all they used. And it's like, what? Like, it's so weird to just play her for her ult.
Especially being a character that has been super hyped up by the community, so seeing as how she's being played less and less now, she might, be getting buffs maybe in the future like Symmetra has.
Possibly, but I don't think they'll be quick to jump on that. Maybe in January, but probably more in February, I think, or even March, just because people are still experimenting with her and seeing if she is good, because maybe the way when Blizzard gave her to us, it's our job to figure out how to play her. And I think Blizzard wants to give us time to figure that out and make sure that there's nothing we're missing. So I think it'll take time, but I think she does need a buff. I think that her hacking is really what they need to target, because it's just flat out. Like, there's value in the invisibility. It gets you behind the enemy team. That's good. Now, I think that they need to buff maybe Translocator, and they need to buff hacking, but mostly hacking, because it's pretty... If I view it as, why hack when you can do damage, there's a problem. So that's Sombra. Whew, okay. Let's go to the defense side now. So we have Junkrat. And I will actually support Junkrat because honestly, I think in the higher up ranks, which we've never been a part of, so I can't really represent that really well, but I think up in the higher ranks, they can deal with the Junkrat much easier, and they know how to do it and make quick work of Junkrat real quick. But at our rank, in gold and silver, I think people don't know how to deal with the Junkrat too easily because what I've noticed is equally on our team as well as the other team that we're facing, people don't know how to counter. They just don't. And honestly, what happens every game on maps like Dorado specifically, I love Junkrat on Dorado, is when you come to that alleyway part in the middle with the bridge, what happens is the enemy team usually death balls behind a Reinhardt almost every time. And so they're crammed in this little alleyway and everyone's behind the Reinhardt and it's just a big shooting battle. And I'm like, you know what? Junkrat's not a fancy player to play, or character, sorry. You know, I'm not Genji flying around throwing shuriken and I'm not Reaper death blossoming. But I'll tell you what, if they're just sat in that alley and I'm throwing bombs at them constantly every second and they're not doing anything about it, hell yeah! That is such good value. And people kind of frown upon it and they say, no, all defense heroes are trash. Don't play defense heroes. They lack value. If you're in the lower ranks, Junkrat has fantastic value if you know where to use them. And I specifically recommend Sanctum in Nepal and Dorado in that alleyway. So I really support him. But the thing is that he does lack the mobility. It's just like as any like compared to Soldier who can sprint and Genji who can run and Tracer who can teleport, Junkrat's is kind of like, hey, I'm just sat here throwing bombs. It's like it's no better than Hanzo. It's just the only difference between Junkrat and Hanzo is that Junkrat doesn't have to aim.
Well, no, I think Junkrat, even compared to Hanzo, has more mobility than Hanzo. Because if if you were a Junkrat player, like, for the longest time, for example, Nat and I, you can tell that you can be very mobile with him, especially if you use him correctly, like with his Compulsion Mine. If you use that for an advantage and not just knocking people away, that can get you a lot of good kills, especially since, at least for me, I use it to get to higher places or just stay in the air and just like lob my grenades at them.
Well, this is true, but bear in mind that what's the cooldown on his bomb? Like 6 seconds? 5 seconds?
I think
Like 6 or 7 seconds, I think.
Okay, I'm thinking 6, but yeah, somewhere in that area. But you can use that once every 6 seconds, so it's like it's one and done. Like if you mess it up,
it's 8
you're in
seconds
trouble.
actually.
Oh, it's even longer? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like that's kind of terrible mobility, whereas Genji can double jump all over the place. So it's just one time boost, but the thing is he can do it on demand really quickly anywhere he wants. And it's whereas Hanzo he can climb the wall all he wants, but he has to get to the wall first. So yeah, he has a little more mobility, but minusculely so. Where he really excels over Hanzo really though is his fire rate, because the rate at which Hanzo can fire his arrows is much slower than he can fire his bombs and reload. As well as the ult usage. Hanzo shoots one straight massive damage, and it's really easy to dodge, it's really easy to see coming, and it hardly ever gets team wipes unless everyone is dumb behind a Reinhardt stuck in a narrow choke point. Junkrat, however, can rip tire and maneuver his way around as deemed necessary and target key players on the enemy team, such as the Zarya or the Reinhardt or the healer, and he can pinpoint and deliver damage on a massive scale. Whereas Hanzo can kind of just shoot in a general direction.
And even with Junkrats, unlike Hanzo, with Hanzo, his just goes in a straight line and it continues on. So you can probably, get people across the map that weren't expecting it trying to get back into the fight, which has happened to me a lot of times.
But then you're depending on sheer dumb luck.
Shut up. But then with Junkrat, with his ultimate can climb walls. You can have it to where you release it, and then you have it to where it just kind of sits against walls or have it climb up walls, and it sounds like it's gone, and you can really just surprise the other team, which I've seen a lot of Junkrat players do when I die to those tires.
Nick, are you back?
I've been here.
Oh, awesome. We're talking about Junkrat. Do you have anything to say? Do you support him? Do you not?
I'd rather him than a Hanzo or Bastion or Widowmaker. Because you don't really have... I mean, you don't have to do much to be a good Junkrat. Like, I don't have to worry about, somebody being like, oh, have they played him enough?
Okay, so you don't have to worry about them meeting a certain skill cap.
Yes.
So
Junkrat
it's
has
like...
a pretty low skill cap.
Yeah, definitely. It's just... when I talk about circumstances, his circumstance is not how much value he can get, it's about whether the enemy team can deal with him or not. So if they're just sat behind a Reinhardt and they're not doing anything about it, awesome. But if they have a good Genji going after you and he's repeatedly killing you, and because he's... I mean, to be fair, Junkrat versus a Genji, I'm leaning more toward a skilled Genji. And so if the enemy team DPS is competent, don't pick him. What I'm trying to say is he's easy to counter, but at our rank, I don't see many people doing it. So I kind of support him so long as the situation deems it's viable.
Yeah, and it really depends on, again, which maps you're also paired up with Junkrat. So like when you said Dorado, a lot of maps that have the narrow spaces to where you can't really run away from Junkrat's bombs, it really puts to good use for the team.
He's a fantastic crowd control. They can't move effortlessly. Effortlessly. They have to be very aware of every step they make when there's a Junkrat on the enemy team. So, yeah, I support him. Just don't be dumb. Like, Junkrat's not the kind of character you can just main and always play every game as a DPS. It's not that kind of... It's very situational. Okay, let's move on to tanks. So right now we're in the middle of a huge tank-heavy meta. But the problem is I'm seeing a lot of inconsistency in it, where all the pros are using triple tank meta, and so the people in our rank are saying, you know what, let's try it. But they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, they really don't.
And judging by what I've seen through observing those higher up in like Diamond and Masters, is you're supposed to have a Reinhardt, a Roadhog, and a Diva, and maybe you could interchange the Reinhardt with a Zarya. But I think that's how it works. And the thing is that the Roadhog is the key pivotal point of it all. And because he's like the only DPS on the team. I mean...
Mm-hmm.
No. Sorry.
Who are you playing right now? Are you playing Pharah?
Yeah.
Scrub. She's viable. So people might think that Diva's the main DPS of the tank heavy meta, and she's not. If anything, like I said, her defense matrix is her key aspect. She defends the team really well. Zarya can assist DPS, or you can have Reinhardt defend your Roadhog, whichever one. But
Roadhog, got a team kill.
Roadhog has to always be getting picks. He's the only source of DPS. He's got to kill to get that value. And I don't think people at our rank are able to do that.
Yeah, I feel like with the triple tank meta that I've seen a lot in the videos that I as well watch, I've seen when they either pick Reinhardt or Zarya, they mainly stay near whichever point. Like if it's a point-to-point game, they always stay at the point, and then if it's a payload kind of game, they're always on the payload, where I've seen the Roadhog and the Diva go off and, basically do a lot of the damage for everybody else, kind of being, I guess you can say, meat shields to either offense or support characters or defense characters. I've seen Diva used as mainly, I guess you can say, bait to mainly draw out the people to where Roadhog can really surprise them, either hook them in or just kind of get them one shot with his like right click. That's what I've seen, at least in the videos.
Okay. And that's a lot of synergy going on. Do you think that's accidental, or do you think that people at our rank are actually pulling this off?
No, I feel like if you can really get it down, you can pull it off. But if you have just luck, I guess you can say, then it'll work out. But if not, then just a lot of the people that try triple tanking, it just does not work if you don't understand it, or if you don't have a team that talks back to you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And healers play a huge role in the triple tank meta, and I don't think we'll go on to healers next, but there's been a lot of problems between character picking in the situation, and I think that the triple tank meta has confused a lot of people on what's viable. And so in the triple tank meta, Roadhog is a must-have. He is the key character. He's the core the core that holds it all together. But that's specifically for that meta, and I think that because of that, everyone thinks that Roadhog is the best tank right now for every situation. And I'm seeing a lot of Roadhog mains main tanking. And what that hints is we're building a team comp, right? And we get one tank, 3 DPS, and that one tank is a Roadhog. And I constantly, you guys might hear me yelling about this and raging. Roadhog is not a main tank. in the triple tank meta, he is the main tank. But in a 2-2-2 or a 3 DPS or a squad comp, he is an off tank. And what that means is that he needs let me get back to main and offense or off tanking. So off tanks are considered Roadhog and Zarya. They complement the main tanks. They're good assistants, but they're not the guys eating up all the damage. The people eating up all the damage are the D.Va and the Reinhardt. And so Reinhardt's out in front, he's blocking the damage, and the Roadhog is getting hooks with him. And what this purpose is you need two big targets to distract the enemy fire to them so that your DPS can go do their job without getting killed. That's their job. They're literally, they have big health for a reason. Their job is to take the enemy damage and take that heat off of the smaller guys.
Yeah, and they're big for the reason, because they're basically, meat shields.
Yeah, but Roadhog, his kit's not designed to take heat. His design is to get kills and heal himself, and get kills and heal himself, and through doing that, the enemy is distracted by him. But he alone cannot tank for the team. He needs someone who's hardier. Reinhardt has a barrier with 2,000 health to defend the team. And that is very sustainable. Whereas Roadhog, if he takes so much as 300 damage, he's got to heal. He can't stay in the front like that for very long. He'll get killed. So that's what I mean by he's not a main tank. And a lot of people, because of this triple tank meta, think that Roadhog is a main tank. Everyone's picking Roadhog. Everyone's maining Roadhog. And I'm like, no, people. He's not a main tank. You need to main Reinhardt or D.Va if you want to be a solo tank. And I think I see this even within our own group when I see Roman picking Roadhog on every map. And I'm like, I don't want to say anything, but I'm like, Roman, Roadhog's not applicable on every map as a main tank. I suggest you be Reinhardt, because Reinhardt's kind of in a gray area now where we're in a confusing situation of Death Ball and Dive Comp and Triple Tank, and it's like, where does he stand? And so when we think of main tanks, D.Va's actually probably the superior main tank right now, because her defense matrix doesn't have a finite health pool. What it does is it has a time limit. And so let's think of a situation such as this. Pharah ults your team, and one of your tanks has to stop this. Reinhardt has 2,000 health on his shield. It breaks, and he'll die. Whereas D.Va can absorb the whole thing, no problem. And not only that, D.Va has a jet mobility where she can fly up in the air to deal with Pharah. She can fly to her healers who need help. She can fly to the turret and eat its bullets while your Genji kills it. That's where she's useful. Whereas Reinhardt is kind of just stuck there, slow moving with a shield that can break. And it takes longer for the shield to recharge than it does for D.Va's defense matrix to cool down. And so what I'm shocked by is that not a lot of people are main tanking D.Va. She's incredible right now. But instead people are main tanking Roadhog.
Yeah, she is. Actually, she has to be one of my favorite tanks to play, other than Reinhardt. Because with Diva, the thing that people also don't realize, I guess, with her, is that she deals, enough damage, but she's basically the one that distracts a lot of people because she can get out of there if she really needs to. And even then, if she has to protect the team with her defense matrix, let's say she doesn't have enough time on it and she has to be out of her mech, she basically has a second life. Compared to Reinhardt and Roadhog, to where with Roadhog, if he's getting a lot of damage, he's going to have to heal. But even during the healing, they can still basically kill him through that. And with Reinhardt going up against, I guess you can say, Pharah's Barrage, his tank, not his tank, his shield may go down, and then he also dies afterward. It's like, what do you want from other tanks?
I also forgot to mention that she got buffed, where she has 600 health now. Reinhardt only has 500.
And she moves faster.
So not only did I just mention all that, but she has 100 more health than Reinhardt. And she has the second life, like you said. Like,
yeah, and a lot of people get scared. I've seen a lot of people actually get terrified that are in our levels, I guess you can say, not like the masters or anything, but at least in our levels, once they're out of their tank, their mech, they literally almost piss themselves because they're like, oh god, what am I supposed to do? Her gun deals so much damage. It's insane. When I main Diva in the games, I don't get scared anymore when I get out of my mech because I can kill somebody extremely fast with my gun. And sometimes I even stay out of my mech when I have it back just to deal that much more damage.
Mm-hmm. She has a lot of value with that pistol. It shoots really fast. Actually, I think Nick probably mained Zarya when he was on console.
Diva?
Yeah, Diva, my bad.
Yeah, I did.
I got Zarya. I mained Zarya. Was she buffed back then? Like, was she the Zarya? Was she the Diva she was now?
I played Diva a lot when she didn't even have the defense matrix like she does now.
Oh, you did it when she had like the static E where... Yeah, I get you. Wow, that was a long time ago.
I was still wrecking as Diva. Like,
well, there's no reason not to.
She's one of those really easy characters to use.
She's better now than she ever was. Yeah, I'd like to see more of her main tanked than Roadhog, and I think, it's this high-level skill play that the pros are playing, and then the lower down ranks see that and they try to replicate it, but they don't have the skill and the game knowledge to do that, and as a result we have this problem. And I think this is something that I would really like to see fixed. Or even Zarya. I see people main tanking Zarya, and I'm like, guys, she doesn't have that sustain. Her barrier lasts 3 seconds max. Shorter even so, if you're taking damage. You can't sustain a whole team. You need a Reinhardt with you, and I think that's the best combination for tanks, honestly, is Reinhardt, Zarya. If you want to combo tanks. It's fantastic, but I can't stand to see Zarya main tanking. She doesn't have the sustain. She has 400 health. She's the squishiest tank of them all, and not only that, she doesn't have a self heal, and she doesn't have a barrier.
She actually has 200 health.
Well, considering shields, yes. Considering the shields. And the shields regen, but it takes time, and that's time you can't spend out of battle when you're a tank. When you're the tank, you've got to be up front directing that enemy damage at you so your DPS can do stuff. When you're out of the fight trying to regen your shield, your DPS is getting heated. Like, that's bad. And with her barrier only lasting, like, maximum 3 seconds as opposed to Reinhardt's 2,000 health barrier, you're nowhere even near his capacity to tank for your team. And so I think that's something that needs to be fixed, but it's not nearly as bad as the Roadhog problem. I don't see many main tanking Zaryas as nearly as much as I do Roadhog. But I think in our current season, this is the big problem.
Yeah, because, like, The good things that I like about Zarya being, chosen as a tank for being a support main, I love knowing that if our Zarya actually knows what they're doing, if they know that something's wrong, they're not getting enough heals, or their teammates are dying or trying to get hurt, they give the shield correctly. And they know not to mess up either. And that's what I love about Zarya players. Because not only do they get to shield themselves, but they get to shield other teammates. And I love that about her. And I've seen Zarya played many different ways, but my favorite has to be where she's basically behind the Reinhardt and just throwing her energy balls at the other team. And when need be, they will go in and one-on-one with their laser or, of course, with her energy balls. And it's really good in that kind of sense, playing the games.
Mm-hmm. She has an incredible amount of flexibility and an incredible amount of value. I said earlier, I main her, and I made her for a reason. Like, back in Season 2, she was hot. Like, and I don't just
We
mean
were
appearance-wise.
good. We were so good.
Because I kind of like to take, with the game knowledge I've acquired over the past months, I like to try to take on that role of shot caller. And I think that there's no better role to play for a shot caller than Zarya. Because like the main tank, you can shot call as the main tank, but it's hard because you're so focused on keeping that enemy team off of your team. And you're having to face what's in front of you constantly, and you can't take your eye off of that or they'll run you over and they'll kill everything behind you. Whereas with Zarya, you don't have to worry about that. You know for a fact that Reinhardt's taking the care of the people in the front, and your DPS is handling the situation on the flanks. And so you, as Zarya, can relax a bit. And you have an entire view of the battlefield, of what's behind you, what's on the side of you, what's in front of you. You are basically an extra set of eyes for the team. And you can help wherever necessary. If there's someone in the back killing your healers, you can shield the healer, and you have the DPS to one-on-one that Genji that's killing your Mercy, if you've been charged up, which you should be if you're a good Zarya. Or, if your main tank is really struggling, you can go up to the front with your energy grenades, and you can help alleviate that pressure off of him. Or, if you're trying to go on the offensive, and your DPS is having trouble dealing with the D.Va on the other team, you can go in and you can single-handedly wreck that D.Va as Zarya. So you can act as a main tank, or I'm sorry, you can act as a tank, and you can act as a DPS, and you can also act as a support protecting your teammate. And so she's so flexible. She's fantastic.
I just wish that people would, at least in our levels currently, play her correctly.
She is.
'Cause
Well, like I said, when you're having to when you're flexible and you're dealing with everything on the battlefield, when you're that guy who's jumping from the back to the front to the side, it takes a lot of skill. You've got to be aware of your surroundings, and you've got to be able to keep track of many different things at the same time, and that's really hard to do.
Oh yeah, I know how that is. Having to be in the front lines, almost practically having to pray to God that you don't die in the back lines. Ugh, it's so bad.
And so, and I don't, when a new player gets on Zarya, it's like, do I use my laser beam? Do I use my grenades? Like, do I use my, and their timing and their awareness is off with their barriers. Like, if I'm watching a Zarya play, and the enemy Reinhardt charges your Lucio, I'm like, shield him! Shield that Lucio, protect him! But they can't do it, because either they don't see it, they don't have that awareness that they need as Zarya, or they just don't have that muscle memory to hit the E on the Lucio in time. You know, it takes practice.
It really does, because if you're just 1 second off, whoever you're giving the shield to is probably already dead or is going to be dead once the shield is down.
Yeah, but she was called the carry queen for a reason. Like, as far as her kit goes, she has the most value out of all the characters, I think. You know, she can't be the main tank, but she can sure as hell be a lot of other things that useful for the team. So that's Zarya. We've gone over all the tanks, I think. We can move on to the supports, and I think this is where you're going to have fun.
You totally forgot about Winston.
Oh my god, I forgot about Winston! And that's a shame, because he's actually really good right now. So, the thing with Winston is he's been highly looked down upon in the past couple of months, because it's when you think of tanks, you think of big, hardy, burly guys who either are in the front blocking 2,000 damage,
Oh my god.
or they're D.Va flying around killing things and self-destructing, or you're a Roadhog hooking and insta-killing the enemy DPS. But with Winston, you're not made to take tons of damage. You're not made to block for the team. You're not made to go deal massive amounts of damage to the enemy DPS, or to the enemy tanks. He's unique in the fact that he's a hybrid, very specifically purposed. He has the mobility of a DPS, the health of a tank, and the damage of a support. And what this allows him to do is, if played correctly, he can either serve as a distraction, or he can target key people. And so...
I just want to point out, like, completely off topic, this competitive game has been going on, like, half of this talk.
Really?
I'm 56 and 20, and I have silver.
We're running on an hour now.
Yeah.
I know.
Talk about close. Man. But... And the thing about Winston... So here's the issue with Winston as I see it. At our rank, Death Ball is the standard strategy. And what that means is your team is grouped up, you're formationed, you're all together, and you collectively fight as one. And you can't have a Winston in that, because that's not what he does. He can't just sit there and deal damage in a formation. What his job does is out of this meta. He's what's involved in what I call the dive comp, or what is known as the dive comp, as you already know, where the Winston's the main tank. And typically what main tank means is you're in front of the team taking the damage for the team. Whereas this is a little different. So the team gathers up, they hide, and they time it. And the Winston will say to the team, "Wait for my initiative." And then the Winston will dive in and drop his barrier and just start wailing on their healers. And what's going to happen is the healer's going to be screaming for help. And all of the enemy team is like, "Oh my god, someone got past us. We have to go back and kill him before he kills our healer, and we're screwed." And so the entire enemy team, in a panic, suddenly jumps on the Winston. And the Winston's not going to last long, mind you. He's going to die. But with this, the Winston's barrier drops, and it'll buy him a couple seconds. And when they're all focused on the Winston, the Lucio on your team can speed boost your DPS into the enemy team on an ambush and knock out key targets such as Soldier or McCree or even the Reinhardt. And once you've done this, the healers have no one to heal. And while the Winston's dead, you're still fighting like 5v2 at that point. And so, and the thing about Winston is he has allowed the team to go in and quickly take the point, but with his jump ability, he can get back in the fight faster than any other character aside from Soldier, really.
Yeah, since his jump I can't speak anymore. But since his jump recharges so fast, I'm like, my dude, it's literally like,
but that's the key to
6 seconds. And it's so good, because out of his primal rage, it charges within 6 seconds, which to most people, I guess, just hearing that sounds like, oh, that's going to be a lot. But it really isn't if you know how to play him. And then during his primal rage, it's every 2 seconds, which is even better. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people forget that with his jump, when he lands, he will deal damage.
This is completely true.
It's crazy because, as you said, when dive comp is played correctly, the Winston goes in and, basically targets the healers, which I've had done to me a lot. And I know how, depending on who we're playing with, if it's just us two in comp or in quick plays, the rest of the enemy team or our team focuses the Winston, and I'm like, no, you're playing into the dive comp. Do not play into it. And basically, like, it just sucks as being a support, seeing that, oh god, you're the one that made everybody else die at that point, at least, because they don't know how to counter the dive comp, I guess, yet. While when we're playing with other people, with our main group of Overwatch players, we know that only maybe 1 or 2 people should actually help, while the rest of them wait for that bomb that comes in afterwards, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I think that's where I saw a lot of benefit jumping from, like, because I used to tank every game, like that was my thing. But then I kind of switched over to DPS to try to learn that. And in doing that, I kind of accidentally found that when I had other people fill that tanking role, that I was able to kind of address a problem that was never addressed before, where it was like all the time. I think in season one problem we had was everyone would always rush to the point when someone got past us. And then when I was suddenly switched over to DPS, I was kind of able to see that for the first time, and I was like, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
And so that kind of came to light where I was like, okay, guys, let's just send one guy. We don't need to send the whole team. So I was like, okay, I'll go deal with it, or someone else can go deal with it. But
And even then, it depending on what maps you have that you're put in during games, really depends on how your formation is going to be. Like very open maps like Volskaya Industries, the best, I guess you can say, formation is to be very spread out, having people on the sides and the back on the point, and having some at that choke point. But if you have them all grouped up, you're basically going to lose that point within a matter of, I don't know, maybe a couple of minutes,
mm-hmm.
Compared to, I guess you can say, oh my god, Temple of Anubis, where you want to be grouped up, because that's basically the one choke point you want to get through, because you can either go through those gates, through the doors, or above, and having a good team comp on the enemy team, you can basically keep them at bay at that choke point.
Mm-hmm. It's all about formation, and whoever breaks formation first is the loser.
Yeah.
So, and it takes discipline to hold it, and it's hard. You need someone to hold it together, because otherwise, I mean, when I play with randoms in comp, like, let's say I'm playing Reinhardt and I'm at the front of the choke point, and then like a tracer zooms past me onto the point, and then all of the DPS runs to the point, and I'm stuck there without a healer, and I'm like, guys, and then they just run me over, and then all of a sudden our team has no tank. So then the enemy team shows up, and then the DPS is like, hello, and then they get killed. And I think at our rank in gold and silver, that's a huge problem. And again, I don't know how to make it better for the community, but I guess
it's really hard having to play with randos, because even if you do get on mic with them, a lot of them won't listen, I guess you can say. A lot of them think that, my strat's better, we should follow mine, which sometimes it is, but you also need to understand when to listen to the rest of your teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to keep using myself as an example, because that's basically all I can really use other than watching the pros, because there's a big gap between how I play and the pros play.
Mm-hmm.
But using me as an example, if you have people that actually listen, and as a support main, it's so easy to make sure to keep everyone alive. And it's so easy to, keep the formation to where you don't die, because a lot of people think, oh, we can go a game without a support, but really without a support, you will basically lose a match. Like, you can't go long without one. And it's really good to see when you have good tanks keeping you alive, when the DPS characters do their job, and when defense people have the, I guess you can say, blind spots that you won't normally hit covered.
Indeed. Actually, this is a good segue to go on to the healers, isn't it?
Yeah.
But finishing on Winston just really quickly, he has the damage of Symmetra, where he doesn't have to aim, it locks on, which is perfect for targeting quick moving characters like Mercy,
I
which
hate it.
is he has the mobility of a DPS and he has the health of a tank. He's got the best of all the things put together, and so that's his niche. So guys, sorry I forgot Winston, he's fantastic. But for healers, we're kind of in the middle of a meta change, a shift. And what formerly was good was Ana Lucio. Like, there's been a point in time in the past where every character was super viable. In the first season, Mercy was fantastic. In the second season, Zenyatta was amazing. And then later in the second season, Ana really picked up. And Lucio was a must-pick throughout all of it. And so every DP or every healer was viable. But now we're coming to a point in time where that's not so much the case. You can't just pick any healer and be fine. And there's no healer that's counted out on every occasion, but we're finding that a lot of healers have are narrowing in their circumstances of play. And so I want to start with, I guess, Mercy. She's probably the easiest one to cover right now. She's a safe choice, honestly. There's no going wrong with her, but she's not always the best character to play. In fact, I don't think she's ever the best character to play, but she can always get the job done. She has the healing output to heal through any situation aside from 6v1.
Yeah.
She has very quick mobility. She can get from person to person very easily. She can evade enemy attackers very easily. She can survive. She has auto regen like no other. And she can damage boost as well as heal. And she can res. Res has huge value. Like, now,
especially if used in the right situations.
Now, I'll touch on this very quickly, but what's causing the pros say that Mercy's the Mercy's a bad pick now. But I don't want low-ranking people to think that. Because why the pros say that is because of the tank meta that we're not using, to be honest. Up in the upper pro plays, well, as a standard, let's start with this. The philosophy behind Mercy's res value is the more people, the better. So people will save their res to get triple res, quadruple res, even full team reses, and they won't use it on small occasions. And that's normal, and I support that. That's a lot of value in what we do. But for the pro players up top in the tank meta, tempo resing is a huge thing, because not every tank is key. Roadhog is key.
Mm-hmm.
And so waiting for the entire team to die before you use it is bad. You want to use it the moment Roadhog or D.Va drops. That's when you want to use it. But in our ranking area, we don't do this tank heavy meta. We do 2-2-2 or we do 3 DPS. That's what we do down in gold and silver. And so Mercy is good for us. So don't be misled by what the pros say. If you can res 3 DPS, a triple res of 3 DPS, that is huge. And so I think Mercy's still extremely viable for us. And so I always recommend that, if in doubt, pick Mercy. The only downfall is that she has to be in the fight with that squishy body because of her range.
Yeah, and for me, I am a Mercy main. If you go onto my account and you look, you will see I have like 60-something hours in Mercy compared to a lot of the other characters, which coming in second is Lucio. I'm a support main. I have reasons for that because I have a shitty laptop, but being a Mercy main, it's very stressful. A lot of people say that, she's probably the easiest, like, oh, you don't need anything to be support, but you really do. No matter what position you take, you will, need to put work into it. And in my experience, it's very stressful having to be in there knowing that at any moment you can basically get one shot killed. She has to be, I don't know.
You've got to be on your
toes. She's probably the squishy. Yeah, she's possibly the squishiest person. And even if you are in the front lines, you have to have a backup plan to get out of there as fast as you can if things go to shit. And she's in our rank level of gold and silver, I would say I almost always play Mercy because she's always needed compared to, higher rankings. It's either, her or Lucia that I pick because I can't really play Zenyatta or Ana because I have a shitty laptop again. But she's very useful compared to what rank you're in.
I think that what makes her feel so squishy is the fact that she has the least attack ability out of all of them. She has a crappy pistol that you have to switch to. You cannot fight and heal at the same time when you're Mercy. It's either or.
And I kind of support her having a crappy pistol since the lore behind her is that she hates violence to begin with. But in the game, it's such shit. And even if you do bring out your pistol, the moment you start firing, people know that's a Mercy gun. We need to go into that area where those bullets are coming from. And you're basically, being a target for yourself. Mm-hmm. And it really sucks. And the thing that I've picked up on as a Mercy main, and what I've seen a lot of the master players do if they do pick up Mercy, is that her fly ability, her Guardian Angel ability comes in handy if you want to even shoot people. She is so good if you are able to lock onto somebody that's super far away, and once you use your Guardian Angel ability, during the moment that you zoom past everybody to go to your target, you switch to your gun and you start dealing extra damage for your DPSs to take on. It's so good if you can understand the way that her Guardian Angel ability works with her gliding as well. It's so good.
I think that's something that not a lot of people have paid any attention to. Not even really the people on YouTube who give tutorials and tips on how to be better don't even ever address how to really take full advantage of Mercy in that respect. Where an okay Mercy will heal and just evade every bit of damage that flies her way. She'll always have her heal stream up, never switch to her pistol. But what really draws the fine line between an okay Mercy and a really good Mercy is when you know how to utilize every aspect of her kit, including the pistol. And so one circumstance that I usually find in games that really kind of just is in the back of my head bothering me, but it's never really an issue big enough for me to scream at them, is, let's say we're behind a Reinhardt. The Reinhardt shield is completely fine. It's not broken yet. No one's taking damage. We're completely safe. But the Mercy still has her heal stream on someone. And I'm like,
I hate that.
Why?
I hate that.
We're fine. We're not going to take any damage. We're perfectly okay. What you should be doing in that situation is if your heals are giving no value, you should switch to your pistol and just add to the damage of your team to break the enemy Reinhardt shield faster.
Or you can switch to the damage stream.
Or
because
that.
if you give that to, I don't know, a pharmacy comp is so good. If you're utilizing her and making sure that you don't get sniped by the snipers, of course. And having her with Soldier, or I guess you can say Junkrat, it's really good. But Mercy players that do not switch to their pistol when their healing is not needed really ticks me. So my group knows the reason why when I don't do it sometimes, because not having a really good computer to run Overwatch on really sucks because it glitches out a lot. When I try to switch to her weapon, sometimes it won't switch me back to my staff until I'm killed, or I just kind of, repetitively click one many times. They know that reason. So when I do have my pistol out, it's because it's working for once. But you really have to utilize everything about Mercy. And what I've seen a lot of people do as well is that they don't know when to use her glide and when not to use her gliding, because that can really be good, especially if you have a Pharah or if you can have a Diva or a Junkrat to get up to high places, and everyone's basically dead on the point or on the objective, you can basically just slam into the, I guess you can say, battlefield and res everyone. I cannot tell you how many times I've done that because I'm basically in the sky and everyone's forgotten about me.
Much like a Farah. That's just a little negativity coming out of me. So, yeah, I think she's fantastic. I mean, I don't main support. I don't main many people. I'm kind of a flex player, but when I do play Mercy, I'm pretty confident in my ability with her. Where, I mean, I fucked up a McCree in a one-on-one battle with her, and that may be because the McCree wasn't very good, but I didn't scream and run for help screaming, "Help! Somebody help!" I'm not a helpless Mercy. I say, "No, I'm dangerous, motherfucker. Don't don't you come for me. I'll fuck you up." And I'm not afraid to pull out my pistol and use it. I think a lot of Mercies, when given the opportunity, don't find or will run away, and that leaves that McCree that was chasing me to go kill someone else. And I'm like, no, I can clean up here and now, and I won't have to worry about him killing my soldier or anything like that. I can personally deal with him. Now, the only thing is you need to weigh into account, is my enemy team okay with me not healing them for 10 seconds? Because that's about how long it took me to duel him. And I mean, I will purposely even go after enemy. I'm such a DPS player. Sometimes I'll go after the enemy Mercy. Like, I think I have footage on my channel right now where, like,
Yeah, you do.
I was healing Reinhardt, and I'm like, what? No, fuck you! And I pulled out my pistol and shot her.
I was in that game, you fuck. I can't believe you did that.
I was like, there's only one Mercy here, and it's me! Oh, but that might just be the DPS in me. But, I mean, don't be afraid to pull out the pistol. Don't shun that pistol. Use it. It has value. And just know when to use it. And I know there are fights, and, you know, I'm not just going around challenging DPS players all the time as Mercy. I do it like once every 100 games when I see the opportunity. Yeah, don't purposely go for it. It just so happened that I was off on my own. DPS had abandoned me. I had no one to fly to. I had no one to scream for help. And I had to man up and deal with him myself. And if there was a DPS there, I would have flown to him and be like, hey, dude, there's a guy right there who wants to kill me. You should get him. But just know your timings, know your opportunities, and make sure you're getting value every second you can. Don't ever heal when you're not supposed to heal, and don't ever use your gun when you're not supposed to use it. You know, this is basically it. It's just basics. But even the basics define who's got skill and who doesn't. So yeah, that's Mercy.
And then with Mercy, you also, you know, with her res, it's really good. As he was saying earlier, a lot of good Mercy players will res, you know, a lot of people, be it 3, 4, or 5. But you also need to remember that sometimes that resing maybe just 1 or 2 people can be very crucial. I have experienced many games with, did we establish if you wanted to be Axel or not, or what?
Oh, I'm just Axis, yeah.
Okay, Axis, okay, cool. But I can't tell you how many games I've played with Axis to where I've only rezzed maybe 1 person, which has been a complete game changer. It's incredible to see a one-man res actually be very useful in combat. And you also have to be wary because you won't know which of the, I guess you can say, souls on the field are whose, so you have to be like, okay, I know who died in this area. I'm going there instead of the other one, which is, I don't know, maybe the Hanzo or something. So it just really depends on how you play her and how much you take into knowing how to fully use her.
And there's that skill gap that we see. It's easy to just say, oh, there's 4 people dead, I'm gonna res them. But it's another thing to say, is this one soul worth resing? And that's where you really need to have information on who died, where, do they have ult, are they useful, are they gonna die as soon as I res them? You know,
yeah,
it takes skill. But we can do that in a whole other episode on how to play Mercy on a focused topic. But for the next healer, we have Anna. And so Anna's gone through some changes. Is she viable? Definitely. Now the thing with her is her strongest asset got nerfed, and it was her ult, the nano boost, where it no longer gives a speed boost now. And so you can't just clutch win every time you have an ult, because that's basically what it meant. Whoever got nano first won the battle. That's not the case anymore. But the damage is still excellent. But you shouldn't play her just for the ult, because she has what no other Overwatch character has in terms of support. And that is, I can stay far in the back, out of the battle, out of danger, and I can give massive amounts of heals on command. And so, not quite as much as Mercy, but the output is still really high. And so, I feel like I have a lot of flexibility with that, where you can give little bits of health if you want, from person to person in an instant. Snap, 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 snap. Pharah, Roadhog, Reinhardt, Soldier, you've got them. But also you have the choice of pocket healing a tank, just like Mercy. And the fact that you can give these Mercy heals from afar out of the battle is amazing. But not only that, her biotic grenade doubles the health regen of any healing aspect on your teammates in a group. It instantly heals 100 damage upon impact, and it deals 100 damage to the enemy team, and it cancels their healing, which means while your teammates are getting healed, their teammates aren't, and that's huge value. And so her sleep dart, of course, is a huge thing about self-defense that she has. And it's also a good offensive technique when I put the Zarya to sleep and Chris charges her. So
yeah, I love that stuff.
She's incredibly flexible. The only bad thing about her is she's far away from the team. So if she gets flanked, she's got to deal with it herself because she's out on her own. And if you can't use the sleep dart and effectively, you're kind of screwed. Unless you can biotic grenade and shoot hella accurate. So there's that. And her health regen is probably the weakest of the supports. She has to throw the grenade on herself to heal, which is kind of bad.
Yeah. It sucks having to do that as an Anna, I guess you can say. I don't often play as Anna. When I do, I'm okay. I'm not going to say I'm very good at her, but I'm okay. I understand how she's used. But my favorite thing about Anna, what Axis was saying, is that she can give the healings from far away. You get, I guess, less stress than what you would compared to a Mercy.
Because, I mean, it's simple. It's a simple thing. When your healer dies, your team has to back off. Because if the enemy team's getting heals and you're not, it's a decided fight already. So with Mercy being in the fight, it's a risk. Mercy being in that battlefield in itself is a risk of losing the battle. Whereas if you're Anna and you take that risk out, you have a much larger chance of winning. But where she falls is the skill necessary to play her. Where you've got to have aim, and you've got to have sight line, and she has no mobility. Mercy can fly out of there quick as a bullet if she's getting damaged. She can't run away. She's kind of just stuck there.
I wish they gave her some sort of mobility.
But if they did, she would probably be OP, just because she can do all that other stuff.
Yeah, probably. Because even with Anna, unlike Mercy, with her shots, you can either be dealing the healing or the damage. You don't have to change to another weapon to give either or. She's just so good that way.
That too, unlike Mercy, she can do both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, I mean, if you're shooting at the enemy, you're not shooting your teammates, which means you're kind of choosing, but it's less time interval of switching weapons. So there's that. And, I mean, the only other problem is when you're far away, sometimes your teammates can get behind objects and it's hard to keep them in your sight.
Yeah, you really have to make sure that you're in a good position to be able to help them, even if they, I guess you can say, go too far and sort of get blocked. I mean, you had the instances where, a Reinhardt will be behind a wall, but you can kind of see his head. So that's pretty good for her since she also has a scope, which is good. Um, Compared to Mercy, to where if you don't have that sight, you can't heal them and you can't fly to them to give them those heals. They basically have to backtrack to give those heals to.
Hmm. And I can go more into the inner workings of Anna later in another episode, of course, but what... Is she viable? Definitely yes. Her ult is still really good. If you pop the ult on a Reinhardt or a Reaper, you're still going to get a lot of value out of it just because of the sheer amount of damage they can do. So, I mean, she can do so many things. She has a higher skill necessary, but she can do so many more things than Mercy if you can pull her off. So she's a must-have on your team if you can play her. If you move on to Zenyatta, he's probably your next big meta. And so, like the tanks, there's off healers and main healers. So what typically you want is Anna or Mercy as the main healer, taking care of your tanks and the people taking the heat. Because, like I said, the purpose of the tanks is to draw all of the enemy fire onto them. So they're going to be taking huge amounts of damage. And if you think a Lucio or a Zenyatta can heal that, there's no way. And so that's just how it is. Goodness me. Zenyatta, he's great, but people kind of start treating him as a DPS sometimes. They pop the ult at bad times. The healing isn't amazing, but what's good about it is he can heal over long range through obstacles, and he can keep DPS characters alive really well. And so he's an off healer. He keeps the squishies alive, not the tanks. He's not a main healer, but he's really good. He can fight and he can heal. That's how it is. Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, we're back. So we all left because it's New Year's and it hit 12 o'clock midnight, so we went off to go do stuff. So we're back. Where did we leave off? Zenyatta, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we went over how he's an off healer. He's not a main healer. He's kind of like the reason why he's such an off healer is because he's such a hybrid of DPS and heals. But for a main healer, you need them to be solely heals, and there's no hybrid about it. So there you have it. He's probably the strongest off healer ever. I think he has a place in every game. Well, not every game, because once I go on to Lucio, we'll list those exceptions. But yeah, I mean, no complaints here for him. He's fantastic. He was buffed, and he's been fine ever since. So then we go on to...
He was actually nerfed recently. Well, kind of, sort of. You remember when his Discord orb got a buff, right?
Oh, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that.
But now his Discord orb doesn't do as much.
30% now.
His regular orbs do more.
Mm-hmm.
They do 46 instead of 40.
That is awesome. The tick rate was increased too, so they move faster. At least for his Harmony and Discord. I'm not sure for his regular orbs. But his Discord orb was moved from 50% to 30%. So he was nerfed in that respect, but it's still really good. It's just that he was OP back in those days. But it's not so much the case anymore. Same thing for Mercy's stream. Her damage stream was reduced from 50 to 30 as well. I guess we can cover Symmetra? No, she's fine. She's definitely viable. We don't have to go over her. Because we're kind of targeting healing as support, not so much her. She's, off on her own thing. But Lucio is actually probably the most called into question character right now. At least should be called into question, because I don't think he is in our community of lower ranks. So the thing I have with the beef I have with Lucio, I know our whole group here in this chat and out don't really have heard me say over and over again, Lucio is not a main healer, and he's not even always the best off healer. Sometimes I think in prior seasons, he had a place in every single game no matter what. And the pros had said this even, and the lower ranks did it, and it was just a universally known thing. And that has trickled into our season currently, even though things have changed. So with all the changes that have been going on with Anna and Zenyatta and Mercy, Lucio kind of also got nerfed at the same time by Blizzard. And he's shifting off into a narrower circumstance because I don't think Blizzard wants a character that has a place in any single game at any single time. His healing got slightly nerfed, but just slightly enough to where, combined with the buffs of the other characters, he has lost his place in prevalence of every game. Now, why I say this is he cannot support... Okay, so let me start here. He's an off healer. And so what off healers do is they focus on the squishies, so that way the main healer can focus on the tank more and not be so scatterbrained. He's supposed to cover where the main healer can't. And that means targeting your DPS with your heals. Now, where he excelled at that in the past is that with Pharah in the air and Soldier and Genji and Tracer off doing their own thing, you don't have to keep track of them. You're healing, so long as they're within sight range of you, your healing counted on them, and it kept them alive. But in recent light, they nerfed his healing, and now Zenyatta can do a better job than Lucio, because while Lucio can heal all targets at all times passively, it can still be out-healed by Zenyatta's orbs. While it's convenient to heal everyone at every second of the game, it's not... There's a limit to how far it can go. If you have a Zenyatta who can target heal those who are getting hurt, then that's good. So let's say you have a team of 6. Half of them are taking damage and half of them aren't. So wouldn't it be better to take the heals off of those who aren't taking damage and put it into those who are and helping them out some more? That's what I'm pointing at. Why would there's too much waste of heal going on. I think it's more effective to target and quickly heal those who are getting hurt and don't worry about those who aren't. And I think that Lucio is very much a lazy character when you play him like that. And that's what's so attractive about him. Too many games I see people picking Lucio as even a main healer, and I'm like, he can't even be an off healer. Like, he has trouble holding a position in off healing. Why are we making him a main healer? There's no way. But where that makes up, where Zenyatta can't make up, is his speed. And so if you're running a death ball, where it really comes in handy is if the Reinhardt's moving up with a shield really slow, you can speed up the death ball by speeding up your slow Reinhardt. Or if you're on a King of the Hill point, such as Nepal Shrine, Lucio can passively give the heals to the teammates to traverse the terrain. Because in King of the Hill, you don't want everyone bunched on the point at all times. You want the DPS on the flanks, on the high ground, and constantly shifting. Because if your DPS is in one place, they're not doing their job. So why don't you help them do their job by increasing their movement? And so the way I play Lucio is I am always on passive speed, never passive heal. And then if I see someone who gets hurt, if I see someone's taking damage, I'll quickly switch to heal, amp it up, and switch back to speed. And so that way, our DPS is able to traverse the terrain better than the enemy DPS, which means we can outflank them and get the better angle and take them down. That's where Lucio excels. But if you stay on passive heals the whole game, you might as well just be Zenyatta, honestly, because you're just not able to dish out the heals where it needs to be dished out. You're just kind of lazily healing everyone 4 damage per second, and it's not going to make any difference when the soldier's is taking 100 damage per second and you're only giving them 4 per heal. So I think it's a huge misconception within the community right now, where they idolize him and they think that he can do it all, when really he can almost do none right now. And I'm really hoping Blizzard actually kind of buffs him, because I think the community needs an easy role to play for the beginners, and Lucio was that person in the past, but now he's not. And people are misleading themselves into thinking that they can. And I mean, what do you think? You're a Lucio main.
Yeah, before he got debuffed, Lucio was pretty good on almost every map, and I think the question in him being debuffed was to, basically have it equal amongst every characters. But once they buffed up other characters and kept him at his debuff, he just became completely useless, I guess you can say, to people that keep on the passive healing. In all honesty, as a Lucio main as well, you really need to understand when you should be on your speed and when you need to be on your healing. And you also need to understand that in every single map, Lucio is going to be played differently. For example, my favorite all-time maps to play him are on the Lijiang maps. And everyone knows this in our main group. Because with Lucio, in those maps, it's very easy for him to use the terrain as his, I guess you can say, playground. And I've seen a lot of people forget that he even has a wall ride ability. And you can use that so much for your healing and your speed, and to make sure to stay out of enemy lines. I cannot tell you how many times I have played him, only him, on the Lijiang maps. I will never play Mercy, even though she's my main. I will stick to Lucio, because people forget that you can basically evade a lot of the people using like that pole that you have in the Lijiang Tower, and then the inner walls of like the shrine that you have in the other map. People forget that, and you can contest the point so much. And the other thing that I guess you can say I was disappointed in with Blizzard is that they didn't take into account that even though they debuffed him to be equal, he suddenly became almost, I guess, the worst healer to have, because if no one else picks healer and you're the only one and you're a Lucio, you cannot hold the team up. And I should know, because I've had many accounts to where that has happened, especially in the Lijiang maps. And it's insane to know that if you're playing with other people that don't want to switch to any other healers, then you're basically screwed with the team that you have, no matter how good the players can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. The community hasn't kept up with the change, and I think that a lot of players are really going to suffer if they don't adapt, if they don't realize that Lucio is not the healer he once was. I mean, it's just as simple as that. And I'm hoping that the community embraces Zenyatta as the off-healer more so. But I'm not saying that Lucio's out of the fight. He is on target maps under very specific circumstances. He's key. With dive comping with the Winston, like I said, he gets the DPS on that ambush real quick. If you're trying to deathball into a point, he can get the deathball in really quickly without getting hammered by the enemy team. If you're on that point, such as Nepal, you can help your DPS get to where they need to get to hold position over the enemy team and evade attacks really well. So he has a place, but it's with speed, not health. And not to mention his ult is really good. Like, whether it be for initiating a battle or for saving your team from an enemy retaliation.
Yeah, his to me, I guess, other than Mercy and Zenyatta's, I really love his ult, because with his, it gives an extra, I guess you can say, shield for everybody, but it also, you know that once you hear his initiation of his ult, a lot of people know that you can't really do much, like with Zenyatta's ult. And the thing about his ult is that it's such a big range and everyone gets it, while as with Zenyatta, you have to be really close to him, which I've seen. And it's just super good. And like Axis was saying, speed as of right now is his best quality as the character himself. The healing is just not enough for everybody anymore. It's not.
Essentially, you get one heal per 10 seconds, I believe. That's basically how I view it. And it's not even a big heal. It's like, how much? 200 health? 100 health?
I think so. Let me...
I think it's 100 because when you heal a squishy, it doesn't heal them to full.
It's 12 per second.
Okay.
Yeah, 12.5 per second. And honestly, it's
so
not
poopy.
enough. It's not enough.
It's so poopy.
And people think that you know, he's being played good because sometimes if you have him and like I guess another healer, of course he's going to get the golden healing because he heals everybody around him. But even then, it's not enough for him just to be the main
That's like
healer.
Junkrat's claim. It's like Junkrat bragging that he got gold damage. Of course you did. You just threw bombs everywhere. Like,
Yeah,
it's just kind of how it is.
It's not good for a player to stay, I guess you can say, as a Lucio and only be using him for his healing. Don't do that. You need to be switching. You need to be knowing my team needs the speed more because the enemy team is coming and we need to regroup. Or if you do need to use your healing, it's with people that are in the back lines with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are going to be the DPS characters that you're able to heal quicker than your tanks. You will literally do nothing to your tanks if you are with them trying to heal them. It's nothing. Like with even with his amplifying, it's shit.
Honestly, what it comes down to is 100 health every 10 seconds is just not enough in a battle. Whereas Zenyatta can heal a health bar to full in a matter of seconds. So that's just it's a clear difference of who's the winner here. But so many people pick Lucio over Zenyatta, and it's just a wake up call. I'm hoping that people will figure that out. But I think that's it's gonna cause a lot of people to stay in the low ranks, and I think it also makes it hard for people like us to get out.
Yeah.
Because when I'm trying to climb out of something like silver or gold, which I've done, I've gone to silver and I've gone from silver to gold, and I'm trying to get to platinum, and it's hard. And I think because one reason I'm the I developed into a flex player is because I was being in low ranks. I'm always caught in situations of the healer's not doing a good enough job, or the DPS isn't doing a good job, or the tank isn't doing a good job, and I need to be able to step up and fill whatever role needs to be filled. Now, the problem is I can't fill all the roles at the same time, or two of any. So if the tanks aren't doing so hot, I need to be a tank. But then if I'm not getting the heals that I need as a tank, I can't just switch to heals and put the old tank back in, because that's not going to work either. And honestly, when it comes to carrying teams, the healer is the worst one to carry, because they're not, as the healer, you depend on your DPS to kill the people in front of you and to take the point. You can't do that yourself. All you can do is keep them alive as best you can. But if they're incapable, your heals don't mean anything. And so that's where I'm kind of stuck in this ELO hell, is where I'm like, I can't heal and tank at the same time. I can't support the whole team by doing all the roles at once. I need someone else to step up to that role. And when someone picks Lucio instead of Zenyatta, or even just picks Lucio with no other healers, it's a problem. I can't cover all the bases. And, for me to say I'm going to be a healer and not carry this team puts a lot of trust in my mysterious teammates who I don't know. And I feel scared. When I take up healer, I'm scared because I'm like, please DPS, I am depending on you. And I don't like that. I want to be self-dependent.
Yeah, no, I I also feel that even though I'm a support main, it really scares me when I have to get off of my main and be my other mains, which are, Devo or Junkrat or Pharah. It really scares me to know that if I do switch and we end up having a healer that's not needed in the game type or this map, it really stresses me out because the rest of the team comp is needed, but the healers aren't picking the correct healers for that match.
Mm-hmm. Or they just
And
don't have the experience or skill in the healing department.
yeah, that too. And I'm like, why? And like sometimes too, like when you go into matches, there are certain players, of course, that load up faster and then they're able to get the characters first. And you just have those jackasses that are like, hey, get off of that character, I'm better. But sometimes you need to know that you should switch with people that know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be the type of person that says, hey, you need to get off, you're probably not good. Just be kind of nice and be like, I'm sorry, this is my main. I basically play them all the time. I think I know what I'm doing. Can I try them instead of you? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's good to be a support main like myself, because when someone else takes your main, I'm like, hey, I have like 60 something hours in Mercy. Can I take it? And people will gladly give support characters up because they don't want to deal with them. And that really sours my mood because supports, I'm not going to say are the most important, but they're very important because they are the ones that keep the team going.
While they can't carry, you can't win without them.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a fine line of they're necessary, but they can't carry. It's really awkward, but it's all harmony. Well, I guess that's Lucio, right?
Yep, that's Lucia for you.
Okay. Well, we will end the episode here for now. Thank you guys for listening or watching, whatever this is, and we'll catch you later. This has been Overwatch Talks, where we talk about all the crap about Overwatch. We'll catch you in the next episode.